Hello,
Good
to see, good to see. Hello, hello. All right, so we are now live. Hello, everybody. There's no one, but at least we are live. So we're gonna allow people to get in and see what's what. But at least we're live, so people are not waiting. So what I'm doing in the meantime, just to make sure that we have an audience in, I always leave about 5 minutes in just to make sure people who've missed the link can get in quickly. I know people are messaging me to attend, so there should be people coming in, which is nice. We say stay steady. We're gonna start. Hello. So we do have people in. I think the everyone who is here. We have Lena. We have Siname. We have people in the audience. It's funny. I think my watching says zero, which obviously it's a lie. So people coming in. So we're gonna give each other 5 minutes. If you are here tonight, please do say hello on the chat box. And we also going to ask you please share your link because this is about connecting our community, so please share your LinkedIn URL if you want to connect with more people. And we're going to allow people to just, hey, we have Brittany's in the room. Nice to have you, Brittany. We have Gabrielle. Sinami, we said already. We have Lena. And please do ask questions because I am going to grill amazing speakers. Yes. I have the amazing Amarechi from Cap Gemini. If you haven't ever Cap Gemini, where have you been? I have Gracious from Pinterest. Who is not obsessed with Pinterest right now? Melissa, nice to have you. Suki is here as well. We have Baby Solar from Indeed. Yes, so if you want to get, if you are looking to invest in, to move into technology, you should definitely speak to Baby Solar. And obviously you have me, Christine. Nice to have to see you as well, Gloria. And obviously you can share your link. We're gonna allow 5 minutes. I also want to spend some time. I was there 10 minutes. Were you there 10 minutes ago, Suki? We apologize. Actually, I'm the one. I was waiting for everybody. Thanks to guys gracious. I was like, actually, you're not live. Just so you know, anything can happen. Oh, from Maryland, all the way from America, which is amazing. So this is very early, probably good time for you to be in. So it's not too late. And for us in London and Dublin, I think it's about the same time. Yes, we're both at 6 o'clock. So we have a great audience. So we're going to give about probably another 4 minutes to get started. And people in the audience, please get comfortable. I'm sure you got your tea and ask question. Tinodiwa, I took my time to say your name, from Zimbabwe. I love that the fact that we're people from all around the world. This is what it's all about. I think that's the beauty as well of doing these online events. So we can really stay connected to our audience, which is growing across the world. I think we are opening our chapter in Paris, in France, in a couple of weeks. The pressure is on, but we're almost there. Preparation of the event, and also, we have Sia. Hello, Sia. Nice to have you. And yes, Evan, we are looking as well of going to America at some point because Tech Florida wants to open a show with us. Yvonne, pleasure to have you. I love all the amazing women that we have in the room tonight. So before we leave room for our amazing panelists to come and share their journey into transitioning into tech, I want to tell you a bit more about me, but I also want to tell you a bit more about GTA Black Women in Tech so you know who we are and what we do. So I am in tech now, but before being in tech, I used to work in oil and gas, and then I moved into fashion before moving to technology. So when it comes to transition, this talk is not about me, but I want to tell you it's possible. And if you are really interested in working in technology, this woman will show you how to do it because I've done it so well. Okay. And when it comes to GTA Black Women in Tech, our vision is very simple. It's about normalizing Black female excellence. And look at this, what we have with us right now. I started this journey hoping that I would have a small group. We've almost have 10,000 on our UK platform, which is amazing. They just showcase that there's something out there we have not been seen and we're going to be seen. If you're not aware that we also released, over the last 2 years, we've been releasing amazing books. The Voices in the Shadow number one, The Voices in the Shadow number two. And we just opened the nomination for volume three. The theme is lost history. So we're going to address the fact that we've been migrating, moving, let's not talk about slavery too much, but the fact that we've been moving around and sometimes we lose our essence. So, for example, me, I was born in France, but I had to do my own research to really figure out that my ancestors were black Hebrews that escaped the Egyptian empire to spread across Central Africa. And my father was the son of the king, and vice versa. That makes me a princess, which explains my very high standards. Anyway, that's another topic. But yes, so nomination, please apply. This is going to be a worldwide story. So we're not just focusing on UK and Ireland. We're going to go worldwide. So wherever you are in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Washington, apply because this story is going to go phenomenal. So the competition is really big. So enough of me. Yes, enough of me. A little bit more about DJ Black Women in Tech. So Make sure that you check our events. We're going to be adding more and more events, online and in person, action master classes. And obviously, part of that, that we want to make sure that, yes, we want to make sure that you can even speak. If you think you're a great talent as a speaker, please apply. There's a lot of opportunities. I always want to put black women on the pedestal. That's one thing that you see. I always find talented black women. We're never short. That's a lie people lie. All right. So enough of me. I would like to leave the room now for amazing speakers, panelists to tell us more about them. So I'm going to start with Gracious, who is a global program manager at Pinterest. Yes, she is at the top of the list, and she's going to tell us a bit more about herself. I'm not even going to try to pronounce an amazing surname, but I'm going to let you do it. So Gracious, tell us who you are, what you do at Pinterest, and yes.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm gracious. Is that an echo?
No, we don't have echo.
Okay, I'm gracious. I am Zimbabwean born, so it's great to see so many Zimbabweans in the chat. I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. My surname is pronounced Nyamukachi. And I moved to Ireland in 2017. Started out my career in banking. So I was a corporate and investment banker for about 4 years with Citibank. And then I transitioned into tech in 2021 and I joined Pinterest in a brand new role at the time. So the role didn't exist in the company. And my role was really to set up marketing operations in Europe. In a few months, that role turned into a global one. And so now I am part of a team of three of us globally. And we really sit in the marketing team at this intersection of marketing and all our cross functional partners. So that would be like product, sales, finance. And my job is to really plan, operationalize, and elevate the work that the marketing team puts out into the world, which I think is the work that you will have all interacted with on the Pinterest platform, whether you use the app, you've seen Pinterest on media channels, or if you've been to a Pinterest event, I would have been part of the team that's behind that work. So thank you for joining tonight and can't wait to hear all your questions.
Thank you so much, Gracious. And we're very, very, very lucky to have you. And thank you so much for just presenting yourself. I'm sure we have so many more questions to ask. This is a very interactive presentation, so please do ask as many questions as you can so we can carry on. All right, so now I want to ask Amarichi. Let me give you a bit of a backstory. Amarichi, I was invited to Capgemini Black Women in Tech event internal. So it was just black women from Capgemini, and there were so many. I was like, where are you coming from? I've never heard from you. But it was nice. Some of them was like, yeah, I know DJ Black Women in Tech. And obviously I'm married to you. I love your story. And I was like, you have to come and tell your story. I want you to be on the panel. And obviously you say yes. So tell us a bit about you, who you are, how did you transition into tech very briefly, and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Amarachi. I used to be a teacher before I moved to the UK. I moved to the UK around 8 years ago. When I came to the UK, I mean, I noticed that the education system here is different from what I'm used to back home, and I decided, okay, I'm going to do something different. But at a time, I wasn't really sure like where I wanted to go to. So, but I started having my kids. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I've got 4 children. And when I was ready to go back into work, I know that I've already had this family support and I didn't want that to stop. Like I want to be home, I want to be there for my kids. And the only other career that would have made sense was to go into tech because all the people I know who are actually working into tech were like doing flexible working. They don't go to the office all the time and all that. So I felt okay, this is it for me. And that was how I started doing my self learning, trying to learn programming and all that. But I mean, it wasn't really flowing because I was just by myself trying to do this and I needed that direction. Like, where do I go from here? At a time, I didn't know what is front end, back end, full stack, all that stuff. Luckily, I was able to find a wonderful, amazing organization that trained people for free. Initially, I thought it was a scam, like this is not happening. But I discovered that it was real. Like they give you everything you need, right from laptop, childcare. They just take away the barrier, whatever it is that's going to stop you. And that organization was called Your Future. I applied and luckily I got in. And that was how I did my training with Code Your Future. I started 2021, around September 2021, and finished last year, around June last year. And towards the end of my program, I was invited to an interview with Capgemini. I went to Capgemini and I got the job. And since then, I've been with Capgemini. Now I'm a service delivery lead with Capgemini. So my day-to-day work is basically Capgemini. We're a tech consultancy company. So we have clients whom we, of course, deliver services for, ranging from cloud, networks, data, so many things. So my role is to make sure that our clients are happy, that we keep them happy, that the services we provide for them, they are all up and running. And if anything is happening, just to make sure that these things are being taken care of. So basically, that's just me in a nutshell, and I'm happy to be here today.
Oh my gosh. Can we just remember that this woman has four children and she's the lead? This is amazing. I don't know how you do it. I admire you. It's so good. Somebody just put in the code your future. So somebody asked about the program. It's called Code Your Future. I want to pick up
Yeah.
on what you say. I think it's so important because, you know, don't if money is a barrier, there's always options out there. People who are helping you find a way. So don't see money as a barrier. You just need to have motivation. And if a woman with four kids can do it, you have no excuse. Yes, really no excuse whatsoever. So really, I hope that you apply for some awards this year because you definitely need to deserve to bring one award at least one. You need to apply. So don't apply. I will apply for you. All right. Last but not least is Baby Sola with senior client success at Indeed. So let's talk about Indeed. It will be good as well from with some good links being shared. I'd love to know as well what has been your journey and your work that you do at Indeed.
Yes, thank you. So I started off my degree was finance and accountant, and then I moved into I had a stint, 6 month stint in fashion as well, and then I moved into digital marketing, and then from digital marketing I have then moved into Indeed, which is more of a higher recruitment tech company. I've been here for over 3 years. I'm now senior client success, so what I do at Indeed is more so I'm focused on the employers. My goal is to help people get jobs. So we're helping employers help people get jobs. That's how we kind of say what we do. Working at Indeed, there is so many different aspects to it that you get to understand. What we as a company, I'm sorry, is there an echo as well from me or no?
No.
So what we as a company, what we're just trying to do, well, for me, actually, I should stop talking about my company. What I, as a person, I'm trying to do on my day-to-day job is basically to strategize and looking at different ways and different trends that my clients can look at to help them reach their hiring goals, but also making sure that the right people are getting the right job and people feel confident enough to apply to these roles as well with these companies.
I'm gonna come to you because I think there's a point of view that you can help us from a recruitment point of view, which is really hard right now. A lot of tech companies are not hiring. How do you become more competitive? But there's a lot of interesting things. I think the first question I want to start with, this is for our three panelists, and anybody can start, is really the why. Why did you decide to transition? I think it's so important. I know that for me, I get bored very easily, so I'm gonna change it. Bye. See you later. But what was your reason in terms of what really inspired you? What was your why? I don't know if you want to start, Gracious, and I'm going to mute myself.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to start. So, I mean, I had been in finance for about 4 years, so I was looking for my next challenge anyway. But the reason I chose tech as my next challenge, the first thing is actually the fact that so many of us are so multifaceted. I'm one of those people who is creative, but I was in this industry that's very structured, right? So, while it wasn't a core part of my role to be creative, and there were chances to be creative in other like endeavors, I really wanted to be creative in a day-to-day part of my role, solve problems that no one had come across before. And it's part of why I actually chose the Pinterest role, because they said, we don't have this role and we don't know what you'll be doing exactly, but we think you'd be good at it. And so, come in and try be creative to solve our problems. I think one reason for me was just trying to use a different part of my brain every day. That was a big part. I think another big thing is more autonomy and breadth of scope. I think that was really important for me, and the tech industry is particularly famous for that because of just how horizontal it is. So it allows your ideas to travel up the chain a lot quicker, for them to be implemented a lot quicker than in a more structured vertical industry like finance. Um, and then mission, I think finance is now considered more of an essential service, right? We just need banks to survive. Whereas in the tech industry, particularly, there are a lot more companies that are spinning up these ideas to like solve very nuanced problems and very like reach very specific audiences and do very specific things. And I think when I was just looking out there at what my next opportunity would be, all the missions of tech companies. I mean, Pinterest, where our mission is to inspire people to live the life they love. That sounds like something I can do every day. And so I was really just looking to be part of that movement where my work, I can actually see it have an impact in the world. And yeah, that's why I then made the decision, because I think my role then fit those three things: breadth of scope, mission, and the opportunity to be creative.
I love what you said. And I think it's about you saying that. I want to translate that like meaning, feeling that you're making impact and meaning, going to come back to meaning, impact, and applying your transferable skills to something else. And I'm probably gonna come to Baby Sola. I want to ask you the same question, but I think one thing I want to ask you two questions actually. This question, as from your point of view, but also people maybe wondering like, how can I articulate those skills that I've learned in a previous role, and how can I make it relevant to get into tech?
Yeah, those are great questions. So for me, firstly, in terms of why I transition is I found out late on in life that I'm dyslexic. So imagine I spent all this time studying to be an accountant, and then I realized I'm dyslexic. And once I was informed I'm dyslexic, it kind of changed my whole aspect of life. It kind of made sense of why I act the way I am. And once I realized that, I decided to take a step back from becoming an accountant and just kind of focus more on what exactly do I want to do and who exactly am I? I know it sounds very forward there, but that kind of helped me there. I took a year out just to kind of focus on that. And during that journey, I decided to move into different types of industry. So that's where the fashion came in. And then I did digital marketing. But then I kind of realized as a whole that tech as is where I want to be. So I just started to set out on the different kind of companies that I'm interested in. That's kind of where I kind of focus on. And luckily for me, living in Ireland, there's so many different tech companies you can kind of apply to, and indeed kind of stuck out to me because the mission is we help people get jobs. And that really kind of resonated for me because growing up in Ireland, you don't really see that many Black people in this kind of tech roles. You never really hear about it much. And I just kind of love that idea of I can work somewhere where I can help people get jobs in positions that they couldn't believe that they could get in, and helping employers, fulfill that dream for people. So that's kind of like what kind of positioned me to where I am. In terms of like the aspect, the skills to develop, I kind of feel like I'm using this knowledge that I learned from my time as an accountant in finance and kind of helped me because I think a lot of times when you transition, you kind of feel like what you've done in the past, it's now not useful, but it actually is useful. That's what makes you unique in this new role that you're moving into. So having that background allowed me to, for example, data. So a lot of my day-to-day job is with data and storytelling that data to my clients and kind of like showing them like what they're doing and how we can help improve them. So having that background with spreadsheets really was very beneficial with me because it was so easy for me to kind of present to my clients and kind of go through this with me. So I think one of the things would be whatever skills you have now, don't disregard them for when moving to tech. It actually is what will make you unique in the role that you're going to go for.
Love that. My first job was at McDonald's, working under pressure, working as a team, and speak different language. Okay, I didn't put it on my CV, but it's so true. And I think about myself as I've always been super creative, so I bring creativity in technology space, and that's so important. That's what articulate our uniqueness. And I think that sometimes this idea of we have to fit in, and sometimes we lose ourselves in the process, which is very dangerous. Something, if you think about you and Amarichi as well, like your why You may have so many why be, being a teacher definitely doesn't pay as much as as technology, as much
Yeah.
as it is also rewarding. But I'm curious in terms of your why and how have you applied that teaching skills into technology in your tech role right now?
I think for me, my why is time. I love my time and I love spending time with my family. Growing up, my parents, both of them were into business, so they were not really like there all the time. So when I got married and started having kids, I wanted to be there for my children. Like I wanted a job that would give me that flexibility. And teaching actually gave me that flexibility before I came to the UK, because of course teaching, you go in the morning, 4 o'clock you're back home, you have your weekends and all that, and then you have your holidays and all that. So I wanted that flexibility. I wanted to be present. So when I looked at like different careers when I moved to the UK, I was specific, I was intentional. I was like, I need something that will give me that time. And I discovered that all the people whom I know who work in the tech industry, they have this flexible time. But my challenge then was like, how can an English graduate, a former teacher, move into tech? Is it even possible? I mean, I didn't like think that it was possible at a time. But after doing my research and discovered that yes, this is possible, you can actually do it. And being a teacher was really, really, really wonderful because, of course, being a teacher, I've been in the learning environment, teaching, learning. It's always like updating your knowledge. So it was actually easy for me because I saw it as, okay, just see it as one of your students. You are now the student, you want to learn. Imagine that you want your student to learn, you get them to learn. So I told myself, being a teacher, you already have the discipline. So it's about the discipline. It's about making out time to learn, to study, because I believe that you can actually learn anything at all. I wasn't tied down, like I wasn't born to be like, you must be a teacher. So I believe that you can actually learn something and move into a new career. And that was what I did. And like I said, the teaching skills was absolutely very, very relevant because even when I started learning, like I said, it instilled in me the discipline, to set out that time and say, this is time for studies. So I face it, I do it. And even when I saw myself in the environment, in the learning environment, it was easy for me to adapt. And then when we start doing like things in teams and all that, it was easy for me because I've already been in that type of environment. So it was a matter of I wanted something that would work for me, work for my family, and I found it in tech. And that was why I moved into tech.
I love that so much. I think there's one thing that people make often the mistakes that trying to stay motivated 24/7. It's impossible. What will keep you get you where you want to be is discipline. Creating those rituals. What are your rituals for success? And it's not what you do, once or twice. It's what you do, every day. It's what you do continuously, weekly. And this is a journey to this. And I think I like as well the fact that you said that you've used not only those transferable skills to get the job, but also to discipline yourself. So it's not only serving the company that you're working with, but also serving you as having the right attitude. And I think that's so important. I want to come to a question. I want to ask a question to Baby Sola because I think it's so important from a point of view of people who are looking for opportunities right now. We sometimes get rejected and we don't know why. What do you think are the common mistakes that let's say black women? I want to go to say black women if it's something out there or just recruit just people
Yeah.
are applying for I'm making quite often like that. And again, this is unfiltered. We are super honest here, so nobody's gonna scare you. Don't worry, you're not gonna be cancelled.
So the number one thing that I can say from Indeed perspective is your resume. A lot of people I've seen resumes, they're all beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but the simple keep it simple because what people don't realize now is when you're applying to companies, recruiters aren't looking at your CVs. It's been going to an automated tracking system. So that tracking system is then looking at keywords in your resume to see if it fits what the recruiter is then going to look at. So they're filtering you out. So I know how we all want to have like a nice blue font or a blue background and our pictures, etc., etc. But simple is best, and I think a lot of people don't realize that is one of the reasons why you may not realize you're not getting the application or you're not getting like a response back from recruiters is the thing called the application tracking system. if there is one thing I would like everyone to kind of look into is that, and just keep your resume as simple as possible. That's the best start to this, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I love that because I think, I work in marketing. SEO is so important. When people are looking for branding agency for fintech, I'm on the first page. This is not magic. I acted purposely to make sure that I get found. Same thing when Pinterest come up in the Google image search. This is not this is not magic. This is purposely things. So really think in terms of I is use resume SEO optimize the keywords that they're looking for. And this is also think about, I would add as well to that LinkedIn. Are you using the right keywords? Are you just using as much description in your content? That's how I get keynotes, gigs and whatsoever, because I use purposely the right keywords and I can't express how good what you say and keep it simple. KISS is an expression in marketing. We say KISS, keep it super simple. And I want to ask you a question that I think it's simple that comes back very often, and that's something I want to ask Gracious. Imposter syndrome. Everybody has it. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? And I also, before I actually answer that, I want to say some comments from Maria. Say it is a gift to see yourself. Sometimes I don't think people understand how monumental that is, but we know. And Gail say, absolute gem. This, thank you. It is good to know there's a filter method. Yes, it's true. We don't have time to go for every single CV. So everybody's using technology, and it's going to be the same in the recruitment industry. So be clever about it. I'm probably going to come back and ask you about Chat GBT. You tell me if it's a good idea to use that or not. But coming back to Gracious, when it comes to imposter syndrome, how do you deal with it?
Yeah. I think the first thing is I don't think imposter syndrome goes away. And so that's the first thing. It's going to come. And so knowing how to deal with it every time it pops up, I think is really important. One of the first things that I do personally is I keep a folder of love notes. What I actually mean that by that is every time I complete a project or if someone sends me a little message to say thank you for doing this, you really moved the needle here. I tend to take a screenshot of that or keep it somewhere that I can always look back at and say, gracious, everyone else can see how good you are. So why are you doubting yourself? And I think that's just a really practical thing to go back to. I think another thing is honestly like listening to pumping music before, because sometimes imposter syndrome kicks in before a big presentation, before a client meeting. I just listen to really pumping music. I think it works for the gym when you feel like you can't run on that treadmill. Why can't it work for work? Um, Another thing is upskilling. And this is actually something that I found after moving into tech because I think my imposter syndrome in tech was a lot higher than in finance. I have a finance and economics degree, so I always used to say, at least I know what I'm doing. When I face things in tech, I used to feel like maybe I actually don't know what I'm doing. So one of the ways that I fight that is to really pull the legs from under the chair. And when it comes to asking myself, do I know this? If I don't, I upskill on it so that the next time that doubt comes into my mind, I'm like, well, actually, I do. So I think really taking the time to up your knowledge is also a good way for that imposter syndrome to start to dwindle over time. And as I was saying that, I just remembered, before everyone joined this panel, we were talking about Black excellence. And I just want to say, like, especially among Black people, we get what is called like tokenization syndrome as well, where you feel like, oh, I'm only here because I'm the one Black person. And I think that doubles our imposter syndrome in a different way. And one of the ways that I try to combat that is to keep a lot of excellent Black people around me. And they won't be in your company, chances are, or on your team, chances are, but they're in panels like this, they're in forums like this. And the more of them you meet, the more you recognize that actually there's a lot of Black excellent people. I happen to be the only one on my team, but I'm still excellent. And if all those people were here, there would be four excellent Black people on the team. It's not about me being a token. Yeah.
Oh, I love this so much. And, there's so. I think we're so good at seeing the worst in ourselves, and sometimes don't focus enough on what the things that we have, and sometimes being reminded by others, and having the right tribe, people around us, remind us, or just reminding ourselves our achievement. We don't honestly have to focus just on the big, big projects or the big things, but little things day by day is so important. You're right, and just keeping in the positive mindset is so key. And I'm a big person on upskilling all the time. Like, you should never stop learning. Learning doesn't stop at schools. What have you learned lately that will make that will give you a reason to add another 5,000 on your application? All these things are so important. So, and I agree, tokenization. Don't use that. We're not there for that. And I think when it comes to, I would say something like when it comes to Black women, I always say that we should be paid even 1.5% more than the others, because we understand a market, or understand an industry that the others, a market as like a target audience that the others don't. And if we have the only one, they need us more than anybody else. So don't let that work. I'm gonna come back to you, because I think there's a lot of things that you shared with us, and we're gonna talk about. I want to talk about the Ireland challenges, if there's any. Is it different from UK challenges? But let's talk about your own challenges. Were there any challenges that you were not prepared for, and what were the challenges that you were prepared for, and those that you were not prepared for, and how did you deal with them?
I think the challenge of imposter syndrome, to be honest with you, because when I was a teacher, of course, I was good at what I was doing, and it was easy for me to go to class, do all that, help new teachers and all that. So I was like a boss, in that field. But when I now moved into tech, I was hit with this imposter syndrome. Like at a time, I felt like maybe I should stop attending these classes. What am I doing here? This is not for me, and all that. It got to a point that I had to share with the leaders. I was like, "Are you sure I can do this? Like, I can't really carry on, But what kept me going was someone said to me, "Listen, do not compare yourself with every other person. This is your own journey. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there, but just focus on you." Because the moment you want to start comparing yourself with other people, what other people are doing, what they're achieving, then you are going to be your own enemy, because you keep telling yourself you're not doing great, even when you're doing great. And that word like hit me like, this is your own journey. Don't focus so much on the destination, because it's not about to finish. It's a journey. You need to have the experience. Like, you need to go through it. The journey is as important as the destination. So take it one day at a time. And that was what I did. It changed my everything for me, because it now made me realize that I should focus on me. It's just me. I shouldn't compare myself with any other person. And then what I did again was I tried to build this support network, because I discovered that going into tech is not something you can do alone. Even when you are given a project, you have different people working on that project, so you are going to meet other people, so you need to have that support network, people that you can rely on, people that you can share your fears with, people who will not judge you, people who are ready to teach you, to explain things for you. So what I did was I was able to build that support network. Let me share this. It's very, because life is give and take. As long as you want to get something from people, you should be able to equally give people. You shouldn't be just a taker. You should equally be able to give. There was this guy, he was really very, very good with coding, and he was part of my support network. But the thing is, he's Italian, so his English was really bad. So what we usually do is, because they give us different things to do, he's not good at maybe writing and all that. So I help him out in that aspect. Like, if there's anything to write, I will help him. We do the writing together, edit and everything. And then he helps me out with any coding challenge that I have that I'm finding difficult. He helps me out. And like that, we were like there for each other. And then we became study group mates, and we come up all the time to study and all that. So for you to be able to overcome the challenge of imposter syndrome, for you to be able to overcome this challenge of feeling foreign, like I don't belong here, you have to have a support system. You need it. You need people in your corner who will be able to help you to go through that. And then you have to believe in yourself. You don't have to compare yourself. Know that this is your personal journey. Enjoy it, go through it, make all the necessary mistakes, fail if you want to, but don't be too hard on yourself, because failure is a part of is a learning process. When you fail, you learn, and then you carry on. But don't ever compare yourself with any other person, because it's your own journey. And these were the things that actually helped me and made me to be where I am today. Yeah. Thank you.
It's good. This is really good advice, and I want to echo that 100 times. Even in the comment, people say amazing advice. It's true. Your journey is yours. If you look at the space, what people are sharing on social media, don't let this scare you. Don't let this intimidate you. Don't let deal with imposter syndrome. Everybody makeups, not makeup, sorry, but always only show the best part of their lives. What's happening, everywhere else is so important. And you have your journey, but you don't have to go through the challenges by yourself. So find your support system. I can't emphasize that. Collaborate. Find how you can share and support one another. And it's so true. As I think that's something that I would say to Black women: ask for help. God, ask for help. Don't it's no you don't the strong black woman, you know, not gender, but the strong black woman label that we have doesn't serve us at all. Ask for help. You don't have to figure out, you don't have to be on your own. You don't have to be like after I all figure it out, because the more you create that impression of have it all figured out, the less you're gonna get people to help you. Yeah. So there's no I'm being actually a bit fragile. Sounds great to say that. But ask for help. You don't have to trust me, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the community, if it wasn't for people that are having my network. Ask for help. It's super important. I want to ask you a question. And people say, like, love upsetting each other by giving service. Yes, I agree with you, Marsha. This is great. It's a very good point. I'm going to come back to that as well. I want to ask a question to you two, was it top indeed expert out there? And I think a lot of people, and if you have a question in the audience, please do ask, because this is your chance to really grill it. So I want to ask you a question, like, when it comes to, let's say, if somebody who has 15 years experience, how can they get into tech vibing to start from the bottom again? And I think sometimes the issue is that I was getting paid 50,000 or 80,000. I don't want to go back to a 20K salary. How do you go about that effectively?
So that's a good question. This is a lot of questions we actually get from job seekers. So one of our advice would be pick the experience that you have that will match the job that you're applying for. It's very important. I know we want to show every single experience that we have and want to show this company, look at me, I have this amount of experience. But sometimes, they just want to know what exact experience that you have that will allow you to be good in this company that you're applying for.
Can I
So
change you a
that's
little
like
bit?
the
Can
first.
you give us an example? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, so for example, let's say you want to become a marketing manager, but previously you've just had accounting experience, but then you also have some sales experience beforehand. So, that sales experience that you have, make sure to highlight a lot of what you've experienced and what have you achieved in your resume, because I think a lot of things that people mistakes in resume is they just describe what they do, the role is, so the recruiters know exactly what these roles are. They want you to explain what you've achieved in these roles. So when you're doing your resumes, make sure you put down what experience, have you achieved before. Did you get a 100% retention rate if you're in sales? In this role that you applied for, that's really good, because if it's a sales role, they can then see that okay, you've been really good in your current role where you've achieved 100% retention and growth. So always show those kind of experience. And then if you have such a large 15 years experience that we're talking about, always mention in the position what exactly you've done. So for example, if you're applying for a marketing role in tech, but you have accounting, sales, and all different types of experience, make sure that the sales roles or any roles that you feel will match the marketing, you highlight a lot of the experience that you've achieved there, a lot of the awards if you've done, or what innovation have you done, what have you optimized, what exactly did you do there that you're proud of. That's what I would kind of recommend putting in your resume, rather than just explaining that I worked with 1,000 clients, I helped do this on a day-to-day basis. They want to know what exactly you do, because of course they would know that that's what you do on a day-to-day basis. So that would be like my kind of advice.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. Can I change? Can I take you a bit further? So, how do you know? Because we're talking about CV optimization. How do
Mhm.
you know the right keywords for the job that you're looking for? How can you find out?
It's actually very easy. It's in the job description itself. People will be before I worked at Indeed, I'm not gonna lie, I used to Google all of this, Google all past CVs, see what they've done before, look at examples, but it's actually in the job description, because as mentioned before, the application tracking system, all the keywords are there in the job description, because when they're doing the filtering from their side, they're making sure that, for example, if they say they want 3 years full stack experience, they want you to put that in your job description. They want to see the amount of years you've done before, because that's a requirement. I know a lot of times, a lot of us might be like, okay, I don't have 3 years, but I'm going to try. I'm going to show them, I can do this. But a lot of time that can affect you, but also it might not. You might have a really great story that you can tell that can
Mm,
show why I may not have 3 years, but this is what I've achieved that I believe that would make me good enough to be here. So in the job description, they could ask for certain types of sorry, I'm using Amarachi's as an example here, but like they could ask for like they're looking for Python skills, they're looking for JavaScript or HTML, certain types of skills. So even if you don't have 3 years experience, but if you can show that you have Python experience, and if you can example show like a portfolio that you've done that shows that what you can do, that is also great and it's enough for you.
mm,
But yeah, I think a lot of times we kind of like overwork and study jobs as a whole, like what should I put? But the
yeah.
answers are in the job descriptions.
Love that. Love that. Sometimes the answer are in front of you.
Yeah,
Why you look so far? I didn't think about this. True. Like, oh, actually, it's true. I actually use the keywords. I have another question. I'm staying on you because I think there's a lot of things I wanted to ask you before I go and talk to Amaruchi and also to Gracious. Let's talk about Chat GPT. What do you
yeah.
think? Is it can we take the shortcut and use Chat GPT to help us create a great resume, improve our CV? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think right now ChatGPT, it's too early to call what it is. I because if you do it right, think about it. So you use it right, and then someone else uses it. There's two people with the exact same answers, or the exact same cover letter, the exact same style of resume being sent. And as you know, as we were talking about, we want to show our uniqueness, what makes us unique, what makes us great for this job. So if we're using this shortcut, it's not really, I don't feel like it's enough to kind of help you get this job, because again, there is the application tracking system. It's very good at tracking down certain stuff that the recruiters want. So I would be careful for the time being. I don't think it's a good thing to use right now. As everyone
Yes.
is saying, it's just about the keywords, putting in the right keywords and also showing what exactly you've done. Like for example, when I started at Indeed, I was very nervous of like showing what exactly have I done, what makes me good enough to be here. But there are so many stories, even if it's small, if you can talk about how great that is, that's enough to prove your worth. I think, as Amarati also said, it's all about yourself. You have to think about yourself and how much you're confident and how much you value yourself. So if you believe in yourself, I know it sounds so cliche to say if you believe in yourself, anything can happen. But if you start to believe in yourself and start to have that confidence, you're able to
Mm,
then build a good brand for yourself, and then that brand can really get you to a lot of different places. It takes some time, but just work on yourself, work on your brand, and work on your resume and showing what makes you amazing. Using those
yeah.
shortcuts, and I know right now it's the buzzword, it's really catchy, everyone's thinking about it,
Yeah.
but it's not the best way. Personally, maybe others in my company might think differently, but I personally think, especially for Black women, we
Mm,
shouldn't do that. And for me personally, that's what I would say. Yeah.
yes. I have Suki is grilling me in the comments to say like, no, Flavilla, don't live in the hype of Chat GPT. I just listen. I love shortcut in my life. If I can do shortcut, that's brilliant. I want to ask you
Yeah.
another question again to you, baby Sola. Photo on the CV or no photo?
It depends on the country, but
I
for
can
me,
see
no
Gracious,
photo.
Gracious
Yeah.
is shaking her hands. She's like, no.
Yeah. Because I know in France, just work with the French department, I do know that a lot of job seekers do put photos. But for
Yeah.
example, UK and Ireland, you don't need your picture there.
Ah, okay. I
Yeah.
just feel that if you see a beautiful black woman, that will help put your CV on top.
I
That's
would
it. That's it.
love that, but I would always recommend, putting your name. Also, do not put your address on your resume.
Ah,
Don't put it there. Just put the city you're in, Dublin, Ireland, London, England. Don't put
yeah.
in your address, because a lot of people put in their address on resumes. So just be careful with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. People, everyone in the comments said no photo. I fear discrimination. Gracious, I can see your face like hell no. I'm not putting my photo. Even though you're beautiful and gracious, you don't want to put your photos on it
No,
because you're
do you
unique.
want me to comment on this, Fabiola, or will
Yeah,
you
good. Yeah, absolutely. This is a debate, so I'm open to it.
No, no, I don't think so. It's interesting because, while Bemi was talking, I was just thinking about how my perspective on if you're 15 years of experience, if you're 5 years of experience in how to get into tech, I immediately think of using your LinkedIn, using your network, getting referrals. So basically skipping that resume stage. So you do have to send in your resume, but it's only after you've already connected with a recruiter or you've already connected with someone in the company. And so you then get to the keywords are not as critical. I think language is still critical. You need to explain your experience in the language of tech. So that's helpful, but you might not have to actually put your application through the 300,000 that are also applying. So going back to the photo thing, while I believe in photos on LinkedIn and showing your full personality, I think on CVs bias is a real thing, and you never know which way the bias is going to go.
It's true.
So it works for you if the bias goes in your direction, but if it doesn't, then it really doesn't. And I think
Mm.
that's more detrimental than it is helpful.
Yes, good point. Good point. All right. A lot of people said no photo. There's Suki saying in the comment that in Germany you are required to put a photo. So it is a option. So depending if you don't have to put a photo, basically don't put it. I want to stay with you, Gracious. I want to ask you a question in terms of, and I want to talk about money. I'm very comfortable talking about money when it comes to salary negotiation. Share your tips how you get that money and how can black women can be better at negotiating because I quite see often that we do a bit lower than the average. How can we just not only go higher and then I also come back as Bimi Sola and also I'm actually on the salary negotiation skills.
Yeah, I'll give some like actual really practical like tips. So I think the first thing is sit down, do your finances, decide on a minimum, and do not waver. And I think that's a really difficult thing because sometimes you will really love the job and you'll get to the final round and the recruiter will say we cannot match. Do not waver because there's a reason why you came to that minimum. So really take the time to decide what your minimum is and stick to it. I think another thing, some more practical advice around links that we can drop in the chat here. For tech specifically, levels.fyi and blind.com are two sites where people in the tech industry are dropping their salaries. So if you don't have a friend in tech who's open enough to share with you what they're earning, sign up to those sites. There's a lot you can see for free, but if you're actually in tech and you sign up with your company email address, you can see it. You can see even more information, right down to at this level, in this type of role, in this type of function, in this market. This is what you should be expecting to earn. And I think that really empowers you in the negotiation conversation because it's so powerful to be able to say, look, I've done my research in the industry and this is what I understand the band to be. This is what I can offer you. And so I'd expect to be towards the top of that band. Um, Another, I don't know, I haven't decided where I sit on this piece of advice, but a piece of advice I once received was when they ask you what you're on, you don't have to answer what you're on. Um,
Mm,
so you can answer what your expectations are, and you're not forced to answer exactly what you're on because you are trying to grow, and maybe you took a role for different reasons than compensation, but you know full well that you deserve double your salary. If you tell them what you're on, that creates an anchor. So come in with your minimum and decide whether your minimum is your anchor, but your anchor does not have to be what you're earning today.
yes, yes. It was a great advice that we had from another webinar that we did. Is that even if they give you an amazing package, it was one of the black female directors at Deutsche Bank said, even if they give you an amazing package which is above what you want, always still negotiate. I was like, what? It's like even if it is more than what I say, always negotiate, even if it's more than what you want. I was like, oh, wow, that's really good, and that's how obviously she's doing really well. But she even when she got more than what she wanted, she will still negotiate. I can see, baby Sarah, you definitely want to say something. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, so I don't know if you had something, baby
Oh
Sarah.
no, I was just agreeing with everything you said because this is something that we say as well at Indeed to job seekers, always negotiate. And also about your salary, yeah, know what you want. And
Mm,
another website that I would actually recommend is called Fishbowl. So Fishbowl is anonymous. So yeah, you can ask questions to professionals in certain areas that you want to work in. So if you want to work in client success, marketing, software engineering, etc., so you can ask anonymous questions, and you can ask people like what is their salaries, or like what is it like to work in X company? What are the interview questions? Of course, those are also on Glassdoor. But if you want something more anonymous and you want to be careful with what you're saying, that's another way to kind of reach out to people in those companies.
Absolutely. Don't go blind. Don't go, come prepared. I think everything when you get the job or they give you the proposal, you know exactly what you want is your minimum. And I think it's so key. I want to come back to, probably going to come back to, I'll talk about this. Probably going to come to you, Amarachi, and I want to ask the question I wanted to ask you and come out of my head. We'll come back in a minute. It was, we talked about challenges already, but I wanted to talk from the point of view of, oh my gosh, it came out of my head. It's come out, it's really annoying. I have my notes here, so I want to talk about it. So we talked about impulses, we talked about common mistakes. Yes, I want to talk about UK challenges. When it comes to UK challenges, yes, my question was around if you were to redo it again, what would you do differently? We talked about imposter syndrome. Like that. What would you do? What would be your step by step to really successfully better transition into tech? And then I also want to talk as well the island experience as well. Being in tech in Ireland is definitely different from the UK. But yes, so if you were to do it again to transition into tech, what would you do differently? What would you have done differently?
So what I would have done differently, I wouldn't have maybe wasted all the months I did trying to learn on my own. Even though some people did it, it worked for them, but I felt like coming from a non-tech background, maybe I would have gone into looking for organizations that actually offer trainings. Because when I did my research to find out first, was this possible? Can I actually transition from non-tech background to a tech like software engineering, and I found out that yes, it's achievable. People have been doing that. What I did was I started with taking the Harvard CS50 course in Introduction to Computer Science, and to be honest, that course is like sitting through 2 hours of boring lectures so if you like listening to very long lectures, then it's good for you, but for me, I got tired. Like sometimes when I finish my head is aching, because it was really long. Introduction to Computer Science, Harvard CS50. So at the time I got tired, I dropped it, and then I went to start using Scratch. From there I went to Khan Academy. From there I went to Free Code Camp. Before I stopped and told myself, you know what, you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, you're doing all these things, you're trying to build different things with Khan Academy and Scratch and all that, but I needed that direction. So if I want to do that now, or if I have somebody who wants to transition into tech and is looking for a way, all I would do is give you the names of organizations that are doing it now. All you need to do is just go to their website, register, apply, and they will lead you right from the beginning to the end. And I said Code Your Future is one of those organizations. You don't even need to pay for anything. You don't have to pay for a laptop. You don't have If you don't have transport, they're ready to give you. If you don't have lunch money, they're ready to give you. If you don't
Wow.
if you don't have anybody to take care of your child or children, they are paying for your childcare. So you can imagine, why should you not be breaking your head trying to do it on your own? This organization is amazing. You just go there, register, and once they give you an offer, you are in. They provide you with everything. Is one company that tries to take away the barrier for people to upskill, and get jobs in tech companies, and they will even help you to get jobs if you remain with them. So if I'm to do this all over again, I won't like waste my time trying to like do this thing on my own. I would just go straight in, look for organizations that do this and register with them and start from there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love what you say. And you know what? That goes aligned with what I keep saying to women. Get rid of that label of a strong black woman. Because that strong black woman that we put on ourselves put us in the wrong mindset. Yes? So we need to get rid of that. Ask for help. This is amazing. I didn't even know about coding your future, which is amazing. I didn't
Yeah.
even know. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
brilliant. It's really
Sometimes when I tell people this, they'll be like, "Is it in this UK?" I was like, "I'm as surprised as you." Yeah, because it is. I never knew that there was an organization like that that help people from ethnic minorities, people from different backgrounds. It's like just come. Once we see the commitment, once we see that you're ready to do this, then we are going to take away whatever it is that is going to be a hindrance that will make you not to get to where you want to get to. They
Mm,
support you right from start to finish. And the good thing is, they, like, somebody is asking if they do only tech. No, not just. If you want to be a product manager, if you want to do UX UI design, whatever field you want to go to in the tech industry, they are there to help you. They are
yeah,
there to
wow.
help you.
That's really good.
All you need to do is just show up.
I love that. Mary, you definitely need to stop doing things on your own. I can see that you in the chat room. Stop going to spend time on YouTube suffering by yourself. Really find those organizations. Again, get rid of that label of a strong black woman because it affects your mindset to really look for organization. When it comes to Ireland, what are the organization ladies, Baby Stola or Gracious, what are the organizations out there that maybe people can go to find some support like what we have in the UK? I'm sure Ireland is doing some great things as well.
Um, not to like plug Indeed all the time. We're Indeed is not sponsoring this. I swear to God. But Indeed, we have this thing called the Job Squad. So on a regular, we would pick different types of sector. And for example, if it's not tech, if you want to just go into into the nursing industry and you want to know what's the best way to kind of help, we kind of help you with your CVs, we kind of help you with your job descriptions on how to make sure that you're ready for this kind of position that you want to be in. But a lot of stuff for people in my circle, it's mostly online. So boot camp academy, code academy, sorry, code academy is something that we would use. Udemy has a lot of free offers as well, courses, but it's more online in Ireland. I don't know, maybe Gracious, if there's anything else you might have, or
Yeah, I would just add like sort of non-formal programs. So what I mean by that is in Ireland we have what we call African Professionals Network Ireland.
Oh,
They do a lot of events with tech companies and they host the events in tech companies. Anyone can come. All the ones I've been to are free. And I think what you really get from that is building that network with people in tech. Now, how does that actually help you get the job? Especially for non-technical roles, I think where I found I needed to spend a lot more time was doing mock interviews because interviews in tech are a lot less formal, but they also a very specific way, which is quite different to interviewing in other industries. The more mock interviews you do, the better you become at getting, to the next stage within tech. And you can do that if you go to APNI and get into that network, for example. LinkedIn Learning is a bit like Udemy, which Bemi just plugged, but I think there's a lot of quick tidbit type of courses on there that are for the softer skills. And I think the further you go up as well, the softer skills become more of what people are looking for, and how to really sell yourself becomes what people are looking for. And I think just practicing doing that often with people in the industry is really helpful.
good. I love that. So many good tips out there. I hope because this is recorded, so you can go back and watch it on the Black Women Tech website in the member zone. But I want to come back. I want to stay in Ireland because I think it's important. Like obviously the opportunities in Ireland and UK are very different, and I like the fact that we have the two of us. What I've coming back to, I talk about Amaruchi's she shared her own step by step into what she would have done differently. She made it, but it would have been easier if she did that. What about you, ladies? Maybe I start with you. Bemi Sola. What would you have done differently? What step by step would you would have followed now that you know more?
I think firstly is confidence, because being in Ireland, there isn't that many of Black people here. We're very, I think it's like 1% or two, like very
Mm,
it's not that many. Yeah, I think yeah, it's not. I think it's less than 100K Blacks in Ireland. And please don't quote me on this. I could be totally wrong. I think definitely is confident, because a lot of people, especially those that I know of, when we finish, our degrees, a lot of people think about moving to the UK, because they just think that moving to the UK, they have more opportunities because there's more Black people there, so they'd be more used to seeing people that look like them over there. But actually, no, you can definitely, get jobs in Ireland, in Dublin. By just being who you are. And that is something that I wish I knew right away, because that's what I was chasing when I was doing my university. Was like, okay, I need to start looking for a place. I look for a job in London. Look for a job. I wasn't even thinking of my home country, like Dublin, like where I could actually find a place. So I think that was something I wish I, if I could go back in time, is just focus on where you are and what you know and start there.
I love that. It's true. People always hype London. London's so crowded. Honestly, wherever I live in London, it's so much. You spend, you earn more, but you spend as much. Trust me, I went eating with my friends pasta. It cost us £40 for just pasta that I could have made at home. But anyway, I pay for the expense. I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, so it was one thing that you said that was really good, gracious. Like networking is so powerful. If you're not networking, you're not growing your network, you are missing. I remember, like, your network is your net worth. How much time are you spending networking? That can be networking internally, but also externally. Really, it's so, so important. When is the last time you went networking? It's so important that if you do that, find those groups, find those tribe, your tribe, you have your tribe with Black women in tech. There is so much more elsewhere, and you can be part of so many different tribes. So, Gracious, I want to ask you a question around, the journey of something talking about step by step, but also your journey towards your experience as a Black woman in tech in Ireland. How's that? And what other things that maybe you can something like step by step things that you maybe would have done differently?
Yeah, I think I would have shared my rejection stories more, because then I think I would have gotten over the fact that I got rejected. And I think for me, the ones that stuck for me were like last round interview, I've got this, and then they said no. I think those were the ones that were a little harder. And instead of sharing the story with other Black women in tech or with other just random people in tech, and first of all, hearing that I'm not the only one, it's not personal, they just have to hire someone, but also having them talk me through where they think I might have gone wrong, so that I could actually apply that in the next one. I think I would have just been less shy to talk about the rejection story or to talk about the story of getting into tech is hard. Um, I also think I would have started sooner. So I know we talked a lot about CVs, but I would have started sooner, not being shy on LinkedIn and reaching out to recruiters directly. And that's a piece of advice that I always give to people. Yes, probably of all the 50 recruiters that you send a quick note to, only two will respond and only one will lead to a conversation. But I really think those are worth it. And so I would have been more proactive on LinkedIn and really connected with people in the community and in the industry, which is something that I've done, and not just for recruiters, right? So I'm in strategy and operations, and one of the ways that I actually prepared for my role, not knowing what it would mean and what it would entail, was I searched strategy and operations, and a bunch of profiles came up, and I read through their profiles just to see what did they highlight as the success in their role. What does it actually mean to do well? And somewhere in Ireland, somewhere not. Sometimes it was a connection from like, oh, I saw we have a mutual connection from Zimbabwe, or oh, I see we went to the same university. Whatever it is, I think building those connections really helped me get more prepared for my role as well. And then
Yes.
particularly as it pertains to Ireland, as Bemi said, I don't know the number either. There are a few of us, but I think that helps because I think when we do see each other in certain spaces, there's an immediate, I want to connect with you. And so we do a lot of that, no matter whether it's in a social space or in a professional setting. So come to Ireland, people. We're
No,
hiring.
and so kissing like meanwhile in the UK after my pasta story, everyone is now wanting to move to Ireland. And trust me, I wouldn't blame you. I was like, island accommodation is not cheap either. But that's another subject. Maybe so that's like, yes, definitely not cheap. I want to talk about, I think there's one thing that we don't necessarily talk about enough. It's our Black female power into our role. How do you ladies, bring out your Black female superpower into making your role amazing? And how can we all learn from you in terms of that? How can we learn? It's big questions, like how do you apply, for example, me, I know that when I have, obviously, I'm an entrepreneur, so I run an agency, so it's different space. And, sometimes I have a conversation with a bunch, of white men who are CEOs and so forth. And I bring my Black female power in a sense of, it could be an advent, using the power of diversity in terms of having to think about product from a female perspective, not just back, but also from a female perspective, have it, make sure that they're not missing out on the target audience, so it's more commercial. I'll be curious in terms of how how women in this room can think about the fact that the black female power to also be add sense to the value they bring to a company. It's a big question. I don't know who wants to answer first. The floor is yours. Is Chris freezing? I'm,
I think
I'm sure you want to start. I'm sure you want to start. I can say you're moving.
for companies like Capgemini, I mean, I give it to them because one thing they really do try to do is they're really very, very good with trying to promote diversity and inclusion. And since setting up the Black Women at CAP network, it showed that, of course, most of their clients, Black people, use their products. So our voice matter. Do you understand? So you have, of course, Black people who are part of the leadership team. So who discuss how this projects or futures are built so that it doesn't like discriminate against maybe ethnic minorities. So I mean, our voice is being heard. We get to sit at the table to chat to discuss on how these businesses are being run. Do you understand? So, and another thing is, as Black people, we need to stop shying away because sometimes what happens is we might have very good ideas, but we don't really know how to like get it out there because we are afraid that nobody will listen to us. But the truth is that just make your voice heard. Let it be known that you said this, because it's best if you say it rather than just keeping quiet and hiding yourself. And it goes to even promotions. You see, most times Black people, they can remain in a particular position. Some of us are not really like ambitious. Like we just stay there and we feel like, oh, I don't want to. Oh, maybe they won't. No, you just have to go for it. It's about be good at what you do. When you're good at what you do, nobody will reject you. When you come out and you show what you can do, what you can bring to the table, then they won't have a choice than to say, yes, we need to bring this person in. So it still goes down to that confidence thing, still trying to come out of our shell, and embrace who you are. Come in, being authentically you,
Mm,
are coming, not being afraid, not shying away. Say what you want, discuss with them, say this is what I want, this is where I want to see myself, this is the way I want this to go, and you will be amazed that that advice or that thing that you brought to the table will be considered. So let's stop shying away. That's the only way we can activate our superpower, by of
yes.
course stop shying away, come out, embrace it, and just go for it for me.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. If those women in this room, you don't apply for awards, I'm going to nominate you for so many things. Because Shag is so much golden. It's amazing, and I can't say that enough. That sometimes, and I remember when I was employed, you wait for somebody to give you the job that you want, but you need to ask. If you don't ask, you do not get. Yes. So go to your boss. I remember go to my boss like, I want to make at that time. I was like, I want to make 50K. What do I need to get 50K? Like, give me, huh? I was like, you know that I have ambition. So you know that I have ambition. If you don't get me there, I'm going to look somewhere else. And if you're good employee, trust me, it costs a lot of. It costs 30K. So much it costs, to replace somebody. You think not just the recruitment cost, but just the time for training. That's how much it costs to replace somebody. So it's very important to make sure that they understand your value. And again, something you bring and innovating and having some ambition and suggesting some things don't have to be the way they are. If you think that you see a problem, a solution to a problem, say it. That will get you where you want to be. And I can't stay. This is fantastic, great advice. And I can say there's some heart and so much more into this. Like, don't lead with fear, Mary said. Don't lead with fear. This is super powerful. What about you, Gracious? What do you want to add to that? So, how do you use your black female superpower into Pinterest? And Pinterest is a brand that people really love. I mean, I don't know any woman in this room who do not have a Pinterest account, building your vision board, your dream house, your dream husband, or whatever it is. I don't know if you can build a dream husband on Pinterest, but at least you can do your dream house. So I'd be very curious in terms of how do you bring that into Pinterest?
You can do a lot on Pinterest, Flavilla. You can build your dream husband as much as you want to. We can chat about it afterwards. Um, but No, look, I think just touching on what Amarachi said, tying our power to business objectives is so critical. Um, and I think some of what comes with that is actually knowing our power. So I think sometimes Black women don't realize that we don't consume the same media that our white male counterparts consume. So something that comes to you so naturally as like an obvious thing hasn't even touched their brains. And that's nothing to do with like, ability and smartness. It's just genuinely media doesn't come to us in the same way. Upbringing, perspective doesn't come to us in the same way. And because of that, say the obvious. And sometimes what feels like the obvious to you is actually so powerful in the room. Amarachi touched on most of the people using our products are Black women. That is very true. Even of a platform like a Pinterest, right? Like that means they've only touched maybe whatever 40% of the population if it's only white perspectives in that room. If you bring your black perspective about what's happening in our pop culture, what's happening, what are the top of mind interests for black people, they have 60 more percent of customers to touch on their product, and that immediately proves the value. I also think it's so important to know that the worst thing that can happen if you say something wrong is you learn, which means you grow and you do better. So don't be afraid to actually say something wrong. I know we always want to lead with excellence as Black people and as Black women, particularly. It's like, I only need my brand to be untainted. But doing things wrong is actually really good because next time you won't do it wrong, and next time the stakes are even higher anyway. So I think those are the two ways that I lean into my power.
Just gonna, yeah,
Also,
sorry,
putting
Karen.
putting your hand up for diversity and inclusion initiatives in the company, don't shy away and try to blend in. I think it is important. Like, get comfortable saying, well, from my perspective as a Black woman, like, even saying that sentence in and of itself is powerful because it makes people want to listen, even if they're listening out of like white guilt or fear. It doesn't matter. Point is, they're listening now. And I think leaning into that is really good.
Love, 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 so much love for what you just say, and so so powerful. And you're right. Like, how can you tie your personal experiences into a commercial value? And this is so key. And we all have a different perspective of the world. The black female story, the black man story, Asian story. This is all why diverse companies always outperform the ones who are not diverse. So you bring something to the table. Really, don't your voice is relevant to the company. So please don't neglect that. And it's so key. And I love what you say. And thank you for telling us that you can build your perfect husband on Pinterest. I'll be just saying that. You don't need to try, but it'd be very good to know that you can do that as well. I'm coming to you, you baby Sola. I want to ask as well, like, how do you use your black female superpower in what you do at work?
For me, so I'm very
Oh,
lucky
you are on
as
mute.
when
You
I
just need to unmute yourself.
can you hear me now? Hey, perfect. Thank you. So for me, I got very lucky that one of the senior managers in my department is a black woman. She is based in the French market, so it's different from my market. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, I see you. If you can do it, so can I. So I use that as my own way of like, you know what, I if she can do it, that's our power. I can do it too as well. And although I started out as just a normal client success, I always had this kind of leadership mindset in terms of what I do. Any project that I'm doing, I want to be the one to lead it. I want to be able to bring something to Indeed that would help my department. That's how I kind of lean into my superpower, is showing that, because I feel like us as black women, we have something that we don't really use much, is our active listening skills. We're great listeners. And when we listen a lot, you can then pick out like, oh, okay, that's a problem. I think I know how to solve it. And that's what I did a lot of the time, is listening to what the issues are and then fixing it. I didn't want to wait to become a team leader or a manager. I was like, no, I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to show who I am right now, because now is very important, not the future. If you want to get there in the future, you need to do what you need to do now. So that's how I kind of lean into my powers, and how I am where I am now.
I love that. I'm going to add different perspective to what you said because I think it's super important. But I also want to add something that is for me as an employer, that I want black men to be very careful. When you see a black female leader, don't get too comfortable with this. Because I've seen many times, because you see me on screen, then you think that I will I will lower my guard. I still have the same high standard that I have if I'm hiring any other person. So just be careful with that aspect. Sometimes you see a black female leader and then you just get too comfortable in your mannerism whatsoever, and so forth, and you lose your professionalism. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be authentic self. Just be careful of that element because sometimes it can defavor you. It's not because we are all black that we all support one another. Let's be honest about it. Not everybody is for us. So just be careful of not being too comfortable in the way you present yourself, and that's so important. I've seen that. No, I would say happen many times, but I've seen that happen sometimes, and that's something I wanted to add to what you just say. Please do people ask questions. We have still people in here, so if you want to ask a lot of questions, you can ask questions to our fantastic panelists. They've been giving us just. If you don't come out that being the director of Apple, I don't know what's going to happen. Yes, I can't help you with that. But yes, so forth. I want to talk about rejection because rejection is also. We talked about rejection earlier on, and I'm comfortable. I think one of the persons that I get a, I send proposal, I don't get it sometimes. Yeah, I just move on. I can't remember the name of the person who I sent a proposal to, and I'm comfortable with rejection. And sometimes rejection can let people feeling like yeah. So how do you personally deal with rejection? So I'm honest, Amarichi, how do you deal with rejections? Whatever it is, as you said, like you put an idea forward, or maybe you apply for a job, you didn't get it, you ask your husband to look after the kids so you can go on a date with your friends. I'm just saying, remember random things right now. So yes, so how do you get rejection, especially at work, or maybe in a
To be honest with
situation of
you,
where, like,
the way
yeah,
the way
sorry.
I plan myself is I always have a backup plan. So when I'm doing something, it's always like, okay, if this doesn't work, what would you do? Because when I build that type of mindset, then it helps me to know that when that thing doesn't work, I'm already prepared for it. So it's almost like prepare for it. Don't wait for it to happen, because if you wait and it happens and you're not prepared, it's going to hit you really badly. And then you will find yourself in a place that you don't want to be. So the best thing is, if you are going to apply for a job, make up your mind that this thing is going to go in two ways. It's either they call me or they don't. If they call me, beautiful, I'll prepare for the interview. If they don't call me, what do I do? So, and if they call me and I go for this interview and I got rejected, so you just have to prepare. So it's about dealing with the problem before it even happens. So, like that, when that problem eventually happens, you are not mourning, you are not down, you're not feeling bad for yourself or feeling sorry for yourself, because you've already prepared yourself, you've already prepared your mindset to be able to accommodate. Your brain will be able to assimilate and take that rejection, and you move on. You're able to pick up yourself and say, oh, yes, that's not the end of life, and you move on. And again, for me, because I'm a Christian, obviously, so I believe that when something doesn't happen the way I want it, I see that maybe that's not for me. So I don't dwell in things that I don't really that I didn't get. That's the way I've built my life, and it has actually helped me, because I don't do, I just feel like, okay, probably that's not for me. But the good thing that actually happened to me is that before I even finished my software engineering training, I got a job with Capgemini. That was my very first interview in 8 years since I moved to the UK. The very first interview, and I got that job. And before I went for that interview, we of course they've done trainings for us on telling us that, oh, the job market is like this, it's like that. You're gonna get like hundreds of rejections before you can land that first job. And so we just want to like calm your mind, prepare you so that when it's happening, you don't feel bad. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really like afraid. I was like, I'm not gonna get 100 rejections. Except you don't like what I've built, but I am not gonna get 100 rejections. Like I keep saying it, but I don't think I'm gonna get 100 rejections. And when I went for that interview and I got called after 2 weeks to say, we are happy with you, we want you to come and work for Capgemini, I couldn't believe it, because to be honest, when I was saying I wasn't gonna get rejected, maybe I didn't really understand it, but I mean, I felt like, is it really happening? You know? So, like I said, prepare for it, prepare for the problem, so that when the problem happens, you don't dwell on it. Like that, you've already trained your mind, you've trained your brain, you've trained everything in you, so that when it happens, you brace yourself up, you pick up yourself up, you don't feel sorry for yourself, you move on, you move forward to the next level. So preparing for it is very, very important. Knowing what to do when that thing happens is very, very important. It will help you to move on very quickly.
Yes, I agree with you. And as I said, like most of the time, my role involves doing business development. So, preparing myself for negative or no is that preparing for yourself for objections. It's so important. Like, okay, so somebody say no, how you prepare to respond to that? It's so key, and you can also apply it in your, in finding the right job for you. Then actually, I want to ask you a different question for Bemisola actually, which is about we didn't talk about interview. Let's talk about interview. What are you suggesting to really successfully? Because I've been really frustrating me sometimes when I always go into like a 15-minute interview and I say like, what do you know about the business? And I have no clue. I'm like, okay, so just apply for a job. You really don't want a career, so you don't even know what you're applying for. So what are your top tips when it comes to really preparing yourself very well for an interview so you don't fail that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that question there you mentioned about what do you know about the company? This is something we are working with employers to stop asking people because yeah, but that's another different kind of thing. Everybody has their own different ways of access interviews, but it is a great question. I think the number one thing that I would always recommend is going to their Glassdoor page, especially if it's a big tech company, because their Glassdoor page will be very active. People who has done interviews before, they would put in what happened. Either they got approval or they got rejected. They would most likely tell you what kind of questions they've had before and what happened. Also, don't be afraid to ask the recruiter what should I expect, because you have to remember, if you get higher, the recruiter is going to get a bonus. So
Mm,
for them to pick up your CV and make you do this interview, they believe in you.
mm,
So and they want a bonus from you. So hey, this is a win-to-win situation. Ask them questions like what should I expect? What kind of questions should I prepare for? What's the style of language in terms of like conversation I will be having with the managers or another recruiter? What should I know? So definitely number one, Glassdoor is a great tool. And number two, just ask the recruiters themselves, like, what should I do? And that is a great way to kind of help you to kind of get an understanding of what you should prepare yourself for that day. If your interview is on virtually on Zoom, do not be afraid to have all your little post-ups everywhere so you can be prepared. If it's not and if it's in face to face, that's also fine. Just make sure to take your time. Don't feel like you need to answer right away. Actually, think of the question that they just asked you. Think of it very well. Take your time, maybe take a few breathers and then answer it. They actually prefer it when you take your time to think and not just answer it right away. If you're answering right away, it's sort of like, oh, did you actually listen to me? What exactly were you thinking? Like, were you actually listening? Are you, in this zone, in this moment right now? So take your time when, in answering questions for interviews. Yeah,
yes,
that's kind
absolutely.
of it.
And yes, true. Never thought about that glass door actually looking. Obviously, I'm not looking for a job, but yeah, it's true
Mhm.
glass door to see what question people ask. We tend to have, I must see, we tend to have the same questions all the time. That we have, okay, let's bring the template, print it, and ask the same question, so you know exactly what will be asked. And again, something, ask for help. Recruiters are there to help you because they're gonna get the money as well, 10%, 20% on your salary. Trust me, if they want you to secure the job. So definitely do that. And ask earlier on, Amarichi about dealing with rejection. What about you, Gracious, dealing with rejections? How do you deal with that, especially when you're in a position of power?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I mentioned earlier about rejection is sharing your rejection story, because I think a lot of people are getting rejected. And I think it's just a helpful way to recognize that it's part of the process and not personal to you. But I think the second thing is iterating throughout your interviewing or application process is so important. And so when you get rejected, it is for a reason. Sometimes the person was a better fit, and asking yourself why. so that you can be better for the next interview is actually really important. So I think one of the ways that I deal with it is trying to think, okay, where could I have done better? And I know that that's the area to focus. When you think about tech roles, most of them, and I think this is beyond tech, but a lot of industries are not just doing like recruiter, hiring manager, one more. They're doing panels. You're doing interviews with, in my role, for example, I had to interview with like a product person, a marketing person, and a finance person. So if I hadn't gotten the job, for example, I would have needed to think back, where was I weak? Is it the finance area? Is it the product area? And I think that's the same for technical roles. You have very technical interviews, not so technical interviews. And sometimes your technical will go super well. And then you'll go for your interview about, how you interact with other people. And that's probably where you fell off. So really take back what recruiters tell you in terms of what went well and what didn't, and make sure to work on it, because I think that helps you, not face rejection again.
Yes, I
And then
want
also,
no, go ahead.
yeah,
I
go
want
ahead.
to ask you, I know you said something great. Keep it there, but I want to ask a question in terms of your experience as well, working at Pinterest between what it was and what it has been.
What I thought it was and what it has been. Yeah. Okay. So Pinterest is at a place where it is growing really rapidly. And so what I joined for was a Europe-based role working with the marketing team to set up marketing operations. What I do now is a global role. So, when you were talking about working in Ireland in tech, my manager and my entire team sit in the US. So I don't actually sometimes feel like I work in Ireland, right? So that's different. Scope has needed to shift, perspective has needed to shift. Even when we think what's happening in the market, a lot of roles are thinking about what are our competitors doing in the market. I need to shift my mindset now and recognize that my market is not Ireland and it's certainly not Europe anymore. So I think scope expanding is something that really showed up for me. I think also needing to say no to things, and I think this shows up for a lot of friends who say in tech they join for a specific thing and then they put their hand up to help with something else, and all of a sudden they're doing two completely different roles and are expected to deliver on everything, and that sort of happened to me a little bit, and so I've needed to learn how to focus myself and be like, this I will take, this I'll prioritize, this I will say, not really, like, I can't help you here, I can direct you to this person, doing so respectfully. But yeah, so I think expansion in scope and knowing how to focus myself to just do what I actually can deliver well on, I think those are things that I've learned in terms of the changing scope of the role.
I love that. I'm looking at what the comments. Suki Adams, true actually. I like people who actually ask me questions as well. So changing me a little bit like, what's your vision of your business? Like, oh, okay, you want to know where you're going? I like that, But yeah, do ask question and if you don't get it, I think it's always good to ask for feedback. I'm the type of person. If I don't text someone, I will actually tell them why, so they can figure out. Because I think sometimes people don't give feedback, and I think it's no, and so and obviously sometimes if you're busy, it's no, and it's really hard and unfair. But if you can try really force, ask one, twice, three times for feedback, because the first time they might not respond, but they might respond the second one. So we ask for feedback, which is really good. Mary is definitely loving it. She's like, I heard big things about recruiters. I've heard good things about people getting jobs via LinkedIn and connecting recruiters. I don't know, so I don't know if anybody wants to add any comment into that. But yes, so I guess it would depends which, I'll say that when you think about what I think about my journey when I was looking for jobs, I would build relationship with a recruiting company, like someone who's in the job. So really don't see as a, don't think about just the company. Like who's that person who can really, really understand you? Who's maybe companies that are focused on diversity will do their best for you. Yes. So if it's just like, Michael Page, probably not going to really help you. You're just going to think, okay, whoever gets there, I get my money. It doesn't matter. But a company who maybe focus more on diversity, so I know recruitment. So my friend runs diversifying. They just focus on make sure that the company is diverse. So they do their best to make sure that you get the job. So when you think about recruitment, what is our relationship as well with them? And then Misola, you can tell me if I am wrong or not. I'm just saying that that's what I would have done as well to make sure I have a good relationship with recruiter. We're going to make sure that I get the best job and really guide me through that.
Yeah,
She said
100%. I
yes.
agree with
She
you.
definitely
Having
said
a
yes.
relationship.
Recruiters are not only waiting. Yeah,
Yeah.
recruiters are not only waiting. You want to add something else? Yes. I don't know if you want to add up. Oh, you don't want to add up. All right, fair. I have a question for you. Actually, I'm coming to you, maybe Stella. For the women, black women in Ireland right now, I'm curious in terms of how many women are in Ireland, how many women are in the UK in our chats right now in our room. What advice would you give to women who are struggling right now? Just what I think is a mindset. There's also understand trust the journey, trust the process. Is any other advice would you give to women right now who just like, oh, I'm tired, try, working out for me? What can I do?
I think the best thing, especially Amarachi and Gracious have been saying, is networking. Right now in
Mm,
tech, there is a lot of conversation, especially with the whole layoff, etc. Don't let that scare you. Do not let that scare you at all. The best thing right now is just to network, get to know the recruiters, go onto their LinkedIn profiles, get to understand what exactly they're doing. Because a lot of times recruiters will actually put in their little descriptions, what kind of recruitment they're doing. Because a lot of times they might just be doing a certain type of recruitment, maybe marketing recruitment. So make sure you're actually talking to a recruiter for a position that you want to do. So if you want to go into software engineering, make sure you're talking to a recruiter who recruits for software engineering, not just a marketing recruiter, because you could end up, it's great, you can, network with that person, but you could be taking time away from yourself when you should be talking to someone else in a different department. But right now, I would definitely say network, being part of the Black Women in Tech is a really great way to kind of keep you up to date on what's going on. And just, don't let what's going on right now in the with the economy, with the everything's going on, kind of keep you down. Use this time to upskill. Use this time to learn a new skill that you don't know or you're not fully comfortable in, and just continue to just know the different women in this industry that you want to be part of, or even the men or any other ethnicity as well. Just network, upskill, and everything happens for a reason. It takes time, and you will get your time.
yeah,
That's what I would say.
love that, love that. Really, so much juice tonight. I feel like I should be looking for a job. I'm stupid. All right, so coming back, I want to ask a question about personal branding. I obviously, as people know me, I know the power of personal branding, and I spend my time telling Black women to go on the limelight and be very visible. We're not doing it just for ourselves. Obviously, when you raise a personal brand, it helps you as well as your career, but it also helps, as you say yourself, baby Sola, when you saw your boss was, top, it gives you reassurance that you can get there, and I think it's so important. But yeah, so when you think about your personal brand, what has really helped you build it? I'm probably going to start with you, Amarichi. What have you used in terms? Obviously, speaking is great, yes, and doing these things is amazing to showcase that you are out there, you're great, and you're confident, and so much more. What other tools or whatever, no, the tools, whatever strategies or actions have you taken to build your personal brand?
To be honest, I've taken some trainings as well,
Mm-hmm.
because training, yeah, some there are some very good trainings which when I joined Capgemini, one thing about me is I try building a good relationship with people, because I believe that these are relationships that will get you to where you want to be. So when I joined Capgemini, I happened to have a very good manager, and I built a very good relationship with him, and I told him what I want. Like, I tell him my mission, my vision, where I want to be. And he's this type of person that supports. I mean, he's very good at, he if this is what you want, then we're going to help, I'm going to help get you there. So when I told him about personal branding, I need to really understand what this is. Like, I need to create my brand, know who I am, what people would know me for, and there were some very good personal branding courses on Udemy, which I did, and what I found about personal branding is people like people who are authentic. When you are authentic, people see it, and people want to listen to your personal stories. They want to understand where you're coming from, because you discover that most times we think that we are different, but we are not. There are things that connect us. And by the time you share your story and somebody can relate to that story, they relate to what you're saying, they get connected to you. So I mean, it's something natural. So just being authentic, being yourself, being true to yourself. Don't try to copy some other people, or copy what another person is doing, or copy what, or be what you are not. Make sure that you are you. Do what you think, this is who I am. Let people let people see who you are. Showcase yourself, And then those areas that you know that you're passionate about, you can bring it out. You can let people know that these are the things that you're passionate about. You are happy to help people in this area. You're happy to speak in this area. So I think it's really about being authentic. Just find what makes you you, and then use it, and yeah, build on it. So that's what I believe, that for me, that's the area I want to create my brand in. I'm a mom. I have 4 children. I transitioned from English language to tech. So I feel like anybody that wants to do this, I have something to give them. I have experience to talk about. I can talk about it from morning till night. Do you understand? So because it's my experience, I lived it. I'm still living it. So it's about being authentic,
Yes,
really,
absolutely.
for
And I
me.
agree, I'm looking at you like, look, this woman looks like she's 20 something. Black woman, oh my God, we just aged like a reverse.
We don't
You
crack.
see, exactly, black don't crack. I love it.
Blacks
I think
don't
that's what it
crack.
is. I think that people look at you like, wow, you think it's impossible, and you tell them, I've done it. I've been a teacher. I have a family, and I think it's so important that we focus so much on one area of our life, like career, and then you neglect everything else. Don't make that mistakes when you wake up. I've seen people who are millionaires who will wake up and realize they have nothing but money. Don't be that person. Don't be that person who spends so much time in one element of your life and you think everything else that really matters. At the end of the day, you should have it all. And say that out loud, like should be your mantra. I can have it all. I have it all, and so you can have it all. So that's so good. Like really, like build your personal brand. Know what you want to be remembered for. Act towards it. And again, something, if you don't know what you want to be remembered for, think about, speak to people to see what they know you for. I think that's so important. I want to ask a question about building relationship internally to gracious. I think this one thing that people forget. I remember it was we had a previous webinar. It was again something Penny from Deutsche Bank. She said to me, when they're recruiting internally, and obviously a series of different people from the company. And if they don't recognize your name, you're out. They say, hey, I know very much Tom. Your Tom is great. So you have someone within the company already advocating for you. So when it comes to building relationship internally, what is your secret? What is your advice?
Yeah, the first thing is take ownership of doing so. And what I mean by that is if you happen to meet someone in the lunchroom, for those of us who are still going to the office, and you're behind the senior person in line, you say hello, don't just leave that in the lunchroom. Follow up with that email and say, it was so good to meet you in the lunchroom. I just find you inspiring. Can I put 30 minutes in your calendar to have a chat? So it doesn't even need to be any mutual connection in your day-to-day jobs. Just make sure to be someone who takes ownership of building those relationships, and also someone who takes ownership of spotting where to build relationships. There's a lot going on at work beyond just your day-to-day job, so read those company-wide emails about what else is happening, what else people are doing, where the company is showing up outside, and make sure you're going to those events, because that's also how you meet other people in other parts of the business, and you get an understanding of other parts of the business, so that when it's time to pick someone, they're likely to pick you. I think that's it.
And then you're right. I remember when I used to work, I would sit at my desk and be on Facebook, where I should have used all my lunchtime to have meetings with every people from different departments. It's so powerful because, again, something when you turn, and I always say that put seeds in people's minds that, oh, I really want to get the CMO job. And you tell that to somebody else, well, oh, that comes up. Guess what? Sarah is leaving. I'm going to do. Like a lot of the jobs are not advertised, yes. So they just go. How many times have you been to a company like businesses have been promoted? It's like nobody even asked me. They even come to you. But when you have these people who can be, your little minions, if I can say that, who can say can advocate you in the background, that is so powerful. So really make the best of your lunchtime. I'll come to you, Baby Sola, when it comes to skilling. I think we talked about upskilling. How much time was it Indeed? Again, it's not sponsored by Indeed and it's other platform where you can learn about upskilling. How much time do you think we can spend on just like learn? I'm obsessive learner, so I'm always learning new things, and I love that. But if people who just think in terms of, I need to stay really in the game, how much time is the right amount of time to stay relevant and upgrade yourself?
Yeah, so for example, in my company, we want people to upskill.
Mhm.
It's very pushed. Like every month, my manager, we have a career kind of one-to-ones, where she would go through with me. It's like, okay, so what are we doing today? What is your plan? What is your goal? What new skills do you want to learn? What can I do to help you upskills? We always kind of recommend to always be doing that. For example, put 30% of your time at work to kind of like do something to help you upskill. For example, I'm an introvert, and going over up to someone to like say, "Hey, let's talk and do that," scares the crap out of me. However, what I like to do instead is use my skills to kind of showcase what I'm good at. So, for example, in my department, if I see that there's something that I think can really help my team, but I need help from another team, maybe a team in the product manager team, what I would do is I would make sure to put myself up for the project. That way I can talk to people in the product management team, which is a role that I'm very interested in. And that way, not only am I doing my job, but I'm also using that to network, and I feel more confident in that kind of aspect. So if you're not fully confident or comfortable going up to people or like telling your manager, hey, I want to take some time to learn X, Y, and Z, put yourself out there for different projects that you're doing in your team that that makes you work with other departments as well. That's kind of like what I would do for myself.
I
Yeah.
love it. It's such a great tip, really great tip. Not everybody, I mean, I'm extrovert and obviously I can go and talk to any random people, but not everybody can do that and try and know exactly, know your strength, know how, find your communication style, and whatever works for you might not work for somebody else. And I think you're right. I love the fact that, and then as an introvert, you see you on stage. I think that really shows a lot about, going against, some of the, maybe I would say the challenges that we have and still doing it because there's a bigger thing behind that. So, you should give yourself a pat on the back, which is amazing. I love that. I have a questions. I can ask you so many questions because I'm very nosy. But when you think about your career, what is something that you wish you knew sooner? And that's a question for each of you. What is it something that you wish you knew sooner within your career? Maybe you want to start, Marachi. What is something that you wish you knew sooner?
Maybe I would have done engineering in uni.
I'm gonna start with this.
Probably probably by now I would have been maybe a director in one tech company,
You will be.
So I feel like I started I feel like I started too late this journey, but it's fine. I mean, I'm not beating myself up for that, because I believe that, like I said, life is a journey, and we'll all get where we want to be. So because I just felt like now I've come into where I really wanted to be, doing what I really wanted to do. Even though like I said, I feel like I came in too late, but I'm enjoying it at the moment, and hopefully, I will get to the higher position in
You
future.
will get there. I know. I can sense. It's a character, it's an attitude, it's everything. It's so important to have that vision. It's so clear. You think. The beginning. You as late as you choose to. If you never start, but you started. Everybody has. And trust me, we all made mistakes. There's no perfect path, and your journey is amazing. You are an inspiration, and I think. I say like you can still be Amarachi. You see, Mark is saying it. Mark, thank you for cutting us.
Oh,
You can still be.
oh my God! Mark is my manager, so he's here.
See, Mark has been in the background all that time. He's been here listening. That's good. Your manager supporting you. This is so good, and it just shows you that it's never too late. Mark's going to take your spot, just so you know. Big boy, yes, you're going to take your spot, and so forth. What about you? Gosha, what is something that you wish you knew sooner?
I think it's that is to go for what I want to do and not for the job title. And if there's
Mm,
something that really taught me that, it's my transition into tech. Because tech calls everything manager afterwards, account manager, partner manager. And I was like, there was a time where I first started just thinking that the role I needed to apply to was a very specific role, only to realize that it's called different things in different places. That there's some people doing this job with 2 years of experience, some people doing this job with 14 years of experience, and it really made me start shifting into looking at what is it that I actually want to be doing on a day to day basis versus what I think my job title will be. And so I'm glad I finally learned that. And I think if I had learned that a lot sooner, who knows like where I may have started my career in the first
Yeah,
place.
I love that. Such a great tip as well. I think sometimes we're so attached to, I don't know which company actually, they removed position title, so nobody has any position title. I can't remember who did this. It was a company who was like, nobody has a position title. It's like just part of a department. I don't know how we do that, but yes. So, but it's, sometimes we get so attached to status of what we think when we get there, and when we get there, it changes. So again, I love to tell personal stories. My friend, she's doing really well, and she always wanted to buy herself a Range Rover, right? And she finally got a white Range Rover. And when she started driving, it's like realized it cost her £135 just to go to Sainsbury's. And she downgraded to this mini, the Fiat Punto. I was like, I'm very happy with my Fiat Punto. So what happened to Range Rover? It's just in the garage now. I was like, okay, so you got what you wanted. So really, really, what is really important, and I love that, really get a sense of what it really matters. I mean, as me, I've learned this as well. Like so many things that I've learned is that, coming from France, I don't know how it is, and maybe something that you can share, women, but growing up in France, image of success was very much black people. If you're not in music or in sports, then you're not going to make it, because any representation of success in professional roles, I never saw them. And therefore, I thought I'd be the assistant manager, and coming to this country really changed my perspective. So now my mindset is very much, if I don't see it, I'm going to create it. And obviously that's the entrepreneurial mindset that I've developed. So if I didn't see black women, I'm going to create something. And now I have so many, which is fantastic. That sometimes if you don't see it, be that person, which is so important. What about you, Baby Sola? What is something that you wish you knew sooner you would have done differently?
I think being more confident, because every job I've been in, I've always been like the only black woman
Mm,
in there. And a lot of times you kind of feel like, oh, it is what it is. I'm going to do my job. Instead of me to be like, okay, I'm the only one. Let me work on how I can improve this to not be the only one. Work on different ways to kind of like, encourage myself. So that's something I wish I did earlier. Now I am that, now I want to see more people like me in my position.
mm,
But when I first started, I just kind of put my head down, did my job, go home.
yeah.
Didn't care. I was just like, yeah, this is life. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Just
Mhm.
get on the work, and I think we've normalized being always the only one sitting in
Mm.
the boardroom, only the only one sitting in a meeting, and then this community has over 10,000. So obviously we are somewhere. There's obviously a lot of us. We haven't found each other, which is something that we need to normalize. That there's plenty of excellence, especially in the black community, especially in the black woman, which is super super key. Um, there's so many questions I want to ask you, and one of them is this is a question I often ask on my podcast. I have a podcast called Tech Brands Talk. I have conversations with technology leaders or people working in technology space. Is when you think about your legacy, how would you like to be remembered? And actually, I'm going to ask two questions. So I want you to think about the two questions. I'm going to start with you, Amarachi. So when you think about your legacy, how would you like to be remembered? And what is the thing that black women can do now to open a door to another black woman?
When I think about my legacy, I think I want to be remembered as that woman that was not phased by maybe the fact that I've had kids, and or maybe because the truth is sometimes you feel like, no, I need to just sit down and take care of these children and maybe just look for one small job at the corner and just do, and and that's it, no career, nothing. No, I want to be that woman to remember that you can be all that you want to be. It's all about you. You can decide to get married, you can decide to have children, you can still decide to have your career, to still be that badass boss at office. So I just want to be remembered as that the woman that nothing could stop her achieving what she wanted to achieve. Because I mean, I didn't say it, but when I started doing this, my last baby was about 3 months old. So I literally had her in my hand and I was doing the training and everything. So you can imagine hours of breastfeeding and then trying to code, and then baby is crying, and then you are doing all that and the next day you have to take the other ones to school and all that. So I mean, If it didn't stop me, then it shouldn't stop any human being. You can be wherever you want to be. And it doesn't really matter. Some people might start do it in their 20s. I did it in my 30s. So some people can do it in their 40s. It doesn't matter. Let nothing hold you down. You can still do that thing you want to do. You can still achieve that your dream, that your vision, that place that you want to be. You can still get there. The only thing is, yeah, there might be times that time where maybe you took a break, but come back. Don't think that it's over for me, that you can't get it, you can't be there. No, you can. You can get there. So I just want to remember that I didn't give up. I was able to achieve this. I did it, and I'm happy that I did it. And you as well can do it.
Don't apply yourself on the word this year, Amarachi. Like this woman, we sometimes really undervalue the stories of what we go through and how much you can inspire people. Look at Brittany; she's like she really connected to your story, and it's so important that you tell. And you say like story really create the emotional bonds, and it's so important to share it that it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to have it all figured out, but keep moving forward, and things will work out.
Mhm.
That's so important, and you did it, with your baby in the hand, but clarity in your vision, what you want to achieve, get you there. And I think what's also important as a mother, you understood the importance of putting yourself first. And I think sometimes when you become a mother, you feel the guilt of your children, but some putting yourself first only create a disservice for your husband, for your children, whatsoever. Look after yourself first. You can look after everybody. That's so important. So very inspiring, as Gabriel would say, really inspiring. I'm gonna ask Baby Sola to go next. So get something like, how would you like to? What's the legacy? How would you like to be remembered? What is the thing that you think that Black women can do to help another Black woman right now, so we can create more opportunities for Black women in tech?
So yeah, I'm like Amarachi, I want people to remember like all the work that I did. I want to be there to make sure that the work that I did also led for a black woman to come into this position and feel like if she can do it, so can I. If she can be this leader, so can I. It's not so like, wow, she did it. That's great. There's one of us. It's like, wow, she did this. I can also do this, because there's a lot of time, especially in tech, where when you see a black woman is there, you always kind of think that, well, that's it. That's the one that they're going to pick. And that's the rest of us. It's over. That's it. So I want to leave that legacy that if you can see me there, you can also do it. I think for us as black women, what we can definitely do is continue to network, with each other, even if it's through social media, or LinkedIn, for example, connect with each other and get to know the different types of work and skills that each one of us are doing. You might think that, your skill isn't enough. Why should I talk to someone working in this certain company? No, don't feel like that. Use that to your advantage, get to learn from this person as well. I just think we just need to talk more to each other, because that's the thing I feel like us as black women, we don't do enough of. We need to really communicate more with each other and get to understand what each of us are going through, and so we can uplift each other and help us get to the position that we want to go to.
Love. Whew, I'm gonna just put my hand together because it's so true. This morning I was talking to two amazing Black women, and at the end of the conversation, we decided to do some work together. It's just happened because we connected. So if you can make again building your ritual, like connect to one Black woman every week, by the end, it will be amazing. And I think that you shared so much golden in this conversation, and it's so true that networking is your net worth. People say to me, "How on earth did you get into BBC?" It was my network. How did I get into LinkedIn course as a LinkedIn? It's my network. Nothing happens because I sat and I was silent and I just did my work in quietness. No, I am loud. I'm in marketing, so I know that. So I'm loud. I want you to remember, I want to brag about my success. I want my feed, when I look at my LinkedIn feed, see a lot of successful Black women, because when I see other women being successful, I'm inspired. I know it's possible for me too. And this is so important. And what Suki says that you got to put your mask on first. When you're on the plane, even if your child is next to you, you put your mask on first. You have to help yourself first. So important. I'm going to finish off with gracious. Remember the same question: legacy. How would you like to be remembered? And what is the thing that Black women can do to help one another in tech or outside tech? Really.
Yeah. I love what Amarachi and Bemi said, and I plus one to all of that. I think for me, what I would add that's close to my heart is I want to be remembered as someone who is a connector and who is able to relate to seemingly unrelated things or unrelated objectives and bring people together to see things the same way and both win. Whether that's in the work that I do in terms of projects, but even if it is in oneself, when you have conflicting modes of, so for me, I was saying I'm a creative, but I'm this analytical person. I want to write books, but I'm in a finance role, and finding a connection in that and finding a role where I could be that full person was so important. So helping people find that in themselves, helping teams find that in projects. I think I just really want to be remembered as that connector. You can be your full self in whatever path you decide to do. You're not just in a box. And I think what can Black women do? I think the first thing is when someone asks you to speak at an event and you can't speak at an event, don't just say you can't speak. Suggest another Black woman who can. When your friend, so for me, I posted about this event on LinkedIn. One of my friends said, "This is so amazing." She's in the UK, and the first thing I did was tag Black women and GTA Black women in tech and say, when you have an event in the UK, please invite my friend. I think that's so important. I think for those of us in the tech industry, we know full well about referral programs. Um, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you know how often I'm always like, Pinterest is hiring, send me your CV, let me refer you. A lot of us get incentives, but I am referring my Black women first, right? Especially all of those that are excellent and well equipped for the role. So I think these literal day to day things that we can be doing to uplift each other and put each other in those positions, in addition to just generally networking and being nice to one another. I think sometimes Black women, there's a little bit of an attitude. So I think we should just remember to be nice to one another when we meet each other. Be warm, because you never know who might be afraid of approaching you because they saw you on a panel or because they saw this on your LinkedIn, Fabula, super accomplished, all of this. Just send her a note. You never know what that could open up for you.
And like, even if I do not respond straight away, I always respond to everybody because I remember myself when I was reaching out to people to ask for help, people just ghosted me. So I was like, I remember how people made me feel. I will always try to respond. If it might take a bit of time, but I will always respond. And I think there's something interesting that is so important. Like this space for all of us. This space, life is not a piece of cake. It's a boulangerie. Like when you go to the French boulangerie, you might come today, there's no baguette, come back the next day, it will be something else. That's how opportunities are. And don't look at, when you see people doing successfully, don't look with envy, look with inspiration because you know that, oh, she can do it, so can I. That's how I've used it. Like, oh, okay, okay. You can do number 10, okay, my turn will come. I'm waiting and patient because I stay in my lane. Yes, I stay in my lane, which is so important. Sorry, I just opened your DM. Christian, that's fine. So please do. One thing I would say, everybody who's still here tonight, like make sure that you connect with all these women on LinkedIn. I know that when I see a Black woman connect with me, I will say yes. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't even should send me a message, personalized message, but I will say yes. So really connect one another. Like we are our network. This is the end of the session. This is 8 o'clock. This is 2 hours when really, really fast. I hope that you enjoy it. Can we just give a round of applause to our amazing panelists who give us so much juice? Gracious Amarachi, Baby Sola. I am so grateful for your time. I'm so grateful for staying so late with us and doing this for our community. And you know what? Whatever you put into this world, you give 100 times back. And I really, really appreciate you. And I can't wait to come to Dublin as well to come and see you and visit you. But really appreciate that. I think that the people, everybody enjoyed it. We can see in the chat right now. You can see the claps. I don't know how you do the claps into this because people really enjoyed it. And I really learned so much, even if I'm not going to apply for a job. I might just try and do a test to see what happened. But I think it's just so brilliant. You give us so much juice. And I can't wait people to go back and watch it, take the time, take some notes. And you have no excuse now. We told you about application, optimizing your CV, interview, preparing yourself, dealing with imposter syndrome, raising your personal brand. When you're in the job, how you really build relationship. And trust me, if you do all these things, you are only destined to be on the top of this game. So I wish you all the great success. Thank you so much again to our fantastic panelists. We are so grateful for your time. And again, I will see you very soon. Until the next event, bye everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We should have played some outgoing music.